Hi, today we're gonna talk about in the audio class. Um, we're gonna talk mostly about iTunes. I know many of you already probably use iTunes and you kind of know a lot about it, but I want to make sure everybody understands the different audio formats, how to make an audio CD, what is the difference between MP3 and a WAV file, and all those things. And probably the easiest application to do these things is probably iTunes. So the first thing I want to talk about briefly, I'm using a Windows computer, and some of the things we're going to talk about is taking music from a CD. So I've already jammed a CD into my computer here, and of course, whenever I am using a Windows computer, you might have the autoplay setting, which pops up a message says, "What do you want to do?" You stuck a disc in. In this case, it says music CD. Usually, I don't use this. I usually say, "Don't take action." Because a lot of times I want to choose what I want to do before I have the computer do it. And I'm using XP, older version, so no stress here. I just tend to take no action, at least when I'm using my Windows computer. And I know my desktops are total mess. My kids use my computer to do all kinds of crazy things on it. So let's just start talking. So the first thing I want you to do in this class is make sure you have the latest iTunes. If you don't, it's a free piece of software that you can download right from the Adobe website. Again, there should be a link on our class website. And if I load up the latest iTunes, and let's just go there again, so you make sure you know where it's at. Again, iTunes is made from Apple, but it does work on both Mac and PC. And if you are used to using other applications like Windows Media Player and things like that, iTunes is not much different than that. For this class, you say to yourself, well, do I really need to use iTunes? No, if you are comfortable using Windows Media Player or something like that, that's okay. There's no requirement that you have to use iTunes. I'm just going to use iTunes today to explain some things to you. Again, if you don't have iTunes, you can go to apple.com and you can type in, where are we at here? Software somewhere on this website. How about Mac? And how about software down here at the bottom? Now you gotta have iTunes somewhere. iPhone. iTunes. I'm sure it's on this website somewhere. iTunes this, iTunes that. I guess you can probably get it under your iPod. I want you to buy an iPod. You can see the iTunes 10 right here. So I click on iPod and I got to the iTunes 10. So once you download the iTunes 10 and try and get the latest one so that you could see some of the things that you could do. One of the nice things about having the iTunes 10, at least when I installed it on my Windows computer recently here, is it came with this wonderful little tutorial pop-up window. I don't know where it really came from. Maybe if you are in iTunes, and here's the iTunes interface right here, maybe under Help. You'd see the iTunes tutorials. So if you don't see the iTunes tutorials that I'm talking about right now, most likely if you install the iTunes 10 and go under the iTunes tutorials right here, you would probably see the iTunes Discover Music with Ping. So you can go and watch that from the tutorial here. Basically, it's like it's a version of iTunes. It starts feeding you stuff. So it's almost like a social networking on iTunes, but they're calling it Ping. So you can learn about that. I haven't really set that up, but I'm sure they'll send you information saying, "Oh, you probably like Lady Gaga" or something like that. I don't know. Then in the iTunes library, you can learn about setting up your iTunes. And you can look at, and so what they're doing is talking about how to sort of look at your files. So whenever you're in iTunes, so this is a really good tutorial. You can see what they're talking about is just sort of how to organize. I kind of go by list most of the time, but you could go by icons. That's what these options are right here. My computer's very slow, and I'm using an old computer, so whenever I click on anything, it usually takes a long time to do anything. So Um, that's what they're talking about inside of this. Importing CDs is mostly what I'm going to go over today. So if we go under importing CDs, I'm sure the tutorial guy will talk about it. I'm going to talk about all the formats a little bit to you, which I've already done. Well, before you do that, there's a lot of things I want to talk about. So that's what this is, and then they talk about how to set up your playlist, how to sync to your iPod, how to buy music, download movies and put them on your computer, get free podcast, and learn with iTunes U. So there's a lot of things that this tutorial go through, and you might want to go through and read all those so you can make the best out of your iTunes. So let's get looking at iTunes. I already inserted a CD, but I did not tell it that I want to import the CD. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to go over today, is just how to import a CD and which tracks you want to import and how to choose which track you want to import and what format your sounds are in. So today, mostly I'm going to talk about the different formats. So the first thing I'm going to do is, again, I put a CD into my computer. If I'm using iTunes right now, you'll see you have a music library, which has all the musics on your computer. If you have any movies on your computer, I'm missing a movie here. Whenever you see something with an exclamation point, is one time I did have a video called Hair Artist on here, but then I have moved it probably, and iTunes cannot find it. So as you can see, it's saying, oh, I don't know where it's at. I'm going to hit cancel because it's probably been taken off my computer. That's what that one is. TV shows, if you want to buy some TV shows, you can purchase them from Apple and stuff like that. Podcasts are a great way for people to broadcast themselves. I do a lot of the Photoshop TV and Harvard and I don't know where I got all these from or how they got on there, but later on in this class we'll learn what a podcast is and sort of how to do that. Maybe even make your own podcast under radio. Radio is probably the greatest feature I think of iTunes, and it's a great thing is that you can actually listen to all the different radio stations around the country as well as around the world. They categorize them into different categories. For some reason, the one I used to listen to all the time is not there anymore. I was trying to find it yesterday and I couldn't find it, and it's called Radio Paradise, and it was underneath the Alternative Rock, I believe it was. And it was called Radio Paradise down here. Radio, and it doesn't seem to be here anymore. No. But these are all different radio stations. One of the things you'll notice is something called a bit rate. And what bit rate is almost the quality of the sound. A higher bit rate is going to take up more bandwidth. As you can see, 128 kilobits. When we see a little b, we're going to learn that little b means bit. Okay, kilobits per second. That's what PS means. And a 64 kilobits per second is half of what the 128 kilobits per second would be. So this would take up half the space as this one. What does that mean to us? Well, it basically means that you can download, not necessarily faster, but it might, cause, the higher bit rate might cause it to drop every once in a while if you don't have a very fast connection, but the sound quality is going to be better. So when we look at bit rate today, when we're learning about it, think about how you're balancing whenever you're working with audio in the computer. You're trying to balance quality and file size and bit rate and all those things. So a lot of what you're trying to do when you're working with audio is trying to make the audio work with the medium that you're trying to deal with. So right now we're not really going to talk too much about it. I just wanted to point it out while we were here looking at the radio part of the iTunes here. And, if you just click on one, you can listen to the song. And there's a volume controller here. You can see right here. Okay, that's enough of that. So that's under radio, and then of course the wonderful iTunes Store where you can purchase songs. depending upon what kind of song, or if you want to buy an album. They all vary in prices. I've purchased songs before and I put them onto my iPod, as well as purchased songs before and put them into some of my videos. Of course, they're non-commercial videos that I've just done for school. Whenever you download anything off the internet here, at least in iTunes here, it's copyrighted by the artist, and you really should not download it unless it is free shareware, or I meant copyright free. We'll learn about some certain websites where we can download free music that we could use in our projects and things, and we'll learn all about those websites in a moment, a little bit later. One of the things I wanted to point out is, under iTunes University, West Valley has their own section here. So if we type in West Valley College, oops, I spell it right, wherever that's at, West Valley College, you'll notice that we have some musics, and one of the ones that I have made here is, of course, the Music 30A. Okay, this 30A and 30B is a iTunes unit I used. I recorded these songs with the students in the Music 30A and 30B class. I used Logic, and I recorded them and put them onto the iTunes U. And the reason why I did that was so that the students in the class can actually hear what the songs are without having to ask the teacher all the time, can you play this song for me? You can download those and get them. Some of them I recorded, some of them other people have recorded. They're very simple songs because this is the basic piano class. I think I recorded this one. So later on in this class, I'll go over how I actually recorded the piano using MIDI, as well as how to record from the keyboard and using the audio in. And then ping, they talked about that. Oh, turn that off. Ping is what they were talking about inside of the tutorial that we were looking at earlier. Again, it says sign in. You'd probably have to sign up for that. Underneath turn on ping. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't really feel that. More important today is sort of how to bring my songs in from my CD. And let me pause this movie and we'll start again.